Okay, welcome everyone. Hope you all are doing well tonight. My name is Keith McAleer. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at the UC Berkeley Startup Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, or we call ourselves SET or SCET. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Berkeley SET alum Saper Khosravi. Saper previously co-instructed courses with us on product management and also product launch. And now he's returning as a founding instructor for Berkeley Startup Studio. Currently, he works in industry as an AI platform engineer at Coinbase, while he's leading our Gen AI Bootcamp. So today he's going to, very excited today, he's going to walk us through how to take an idea into a fully functioning app in just an hour with no coding required. So we are so thrilled to have him share his expertise with us. So Saper, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. So for everybody who is joining the chat right now, make sure to scan this QR code and submit your ideas because we're going to be building one of them. And yeah, so awesome. I see them rolling in. There's going to be a thumbs up and a thumbs down button. So we're going to scroll through and see which one's getting the most likes and pick something from the top 5. Keep in mind, we have 60 minutes. So if you pick some crazy idea, we're probably not going to be able to build it. But yeah, we should be able to build just close to about anything. So I'm going to go back to the QR code, give everybody a chance to scan it and start submitting. And we're going to get started in about like 20 seconds here. Okay, cool. I see a couple of them rolling in. AI-powered drone based on. So we can't build a drone. It's going to be just software for today. I mean, we could build a software part of it. An app that dumbify your smartphone to prevent distractions. Okay, cool. All right, just everybody go ahead and keep on submitting some ideas and we'll come back and look at this. A belly cone. Nice. Okay, now they're rolling in. Awesome. So I'm gonna keep going. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about my first startup experience. It was me and my 3 co-founders who started. We had 1 CS student, 1 PhD Berkeley EEC student, and then me who was a data scientist. And I had the amazing idea that I was gonna shave my head for the first day of the startup. And we were basically making a tool to help teachers more quickly produce short-form vertical content, so kind of like the TikTok for education. And then this was the video that we first launched when we finally got our MVP/prototype out. And I want you to pay attention to 2 things here. One is notice the length of my hair. It had basically all already grown back by the time we launched. And 2, to take a look at the app. And yeah, you can see it was still super, super ugly. And that's because it took us 3 months to even launch our first iteration of the app and get some people to try to use it. And it was barely usable even after 3 months. So please don't do that, especially if you're listening to today's session. There's no reason you should be doing that. If you do, we're gonna have to fight. So like, stay away from that. But like, why did it take us 3 months? Partially because we didn't know what we were doing. It was our first time, but also partially because of a lot of mistakes that some founders make the first time they're doing it, and like common steps that you have to go through. First, you got to decide on the product and the features, and then none of us were designers. We're all coding students, so we needed to find a freelance designer to design this. And then we had to wait a week for the designer to get back to us to be able to actually start coding the app, set up our infrastructure and our tech stack. And then once you start coding, the product vision changes and you want to change that. So you got to wait for another design that you submit to the designer and then start coding again. And then that process probably happens like 7 to 8 more times before you finally deploy and get to launch. So coding anything is slow to begin with. A lot of startups try to avoid coding for their MVP. But when you're doing this process, it can take a long time. Now, the goal for most startups is to find product market fit. And it's pretty widely agreed upon that you want to quickly launch your product so that you can get customer feedback, see if people like it, iterate, and do it again. And if you ever find product market fit, then you're good. You know you can scale, you can raise money, whatever it is. Sorry, I'm having a quick technical issue. 1 second. Sorry about that. Quick technical issue. I think my parents were listening to the stream and it was echoing for me here. But yeah, hi mom and dad. So yeah, if you find product market fit, and then you're good. You can raise money with investors, and even if your tech stack is in the base, if things break, that's okay because you can hire someone at that point. And yeah, okay. So let's come back to here because it's gonna take us a while to build the app. So let's look at the ideas we have and pick one here. I see one of them has 3. An app that turns an idea into a marketing plan. Okay. An app that scans a barcode and explains everything in the product. Okay, cool. Belly clone, hotel management system. All right, this seems to be getting the most votes. So like, let's go ahead and continue with that idea. And then what features do you guys want the app to have? So we're going to be doing something that takes an idea and turns it into a marketing plan. Let us know what features you guys recommend that should be on there. We're also going to ask ChatGPT for this, but if you have any suggestions, throw this in here. It's going to be on the same link that you were using before. And if you don't have it, you can scan it right here. I'll give everybody a minute to do that. And then while these are all in, I'm going to have a quick little lecture about the history of building applications. So this is the history of the methods of building software or like trying to make money online. First, in 1995, we started with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the basic coding languages that you make software that are still used to this day. And the web browser that you're viewing everything on is built off of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then in 2003, we had the introduction of WordPress and other content management systems. Something you might be more familiar with is Shopify. So these are sites where you can create limited types of like storefronts or pages, blogs and articles. Doesn't necessarily require code to do. You can fill in things, but it's quite limited. Then in 2010, we had an advancement in coding where we started to see a lot of frameworks and libraries rolled out, like the most popular one being React, where with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, oftentimes you're rewriting a lot of components of your code, and these just sped up that process by creating reusability for segments of your code along with other improvements. But we saw a big boost in software production after 2010. Then in 2012, we saw Bubble, which was the first no-code web app builder. So in contrast, where WordPress was a content management system and you couldn't create apps with full functionalities that you wanted, Bubble allowed that. So your apps could have function, you could click things, move things, and it's not just a static storefront. But the issue with Bubble was that you'd be tied to the platform that you're on. So if you ever decide you want to take your code off of that platform, you can't. You're just completely tied down to Bubble, and there's no coding that you can do on there. But that was fixed in 2021 when Flutterflow came out. So Flutterflow was a no-code tool based on Google's Flutter framework, which allowed you to build with no code, but at the same time, this generated code for you. So this was great because if you built a code app on no code that did well and you wanted it to scale, then you could take the code, send it over to a developer, and build all the pieces that you need out. But still, learning how to code with no code was a struggle on this. It's a lot faster to learn this than to learn how to code, but still a big learning process. And then in 2022, LLMs became popular, which really boosted productivity for coders everywhere. And if we kind of look at this, we can see that these green ones will be the development of the biggest changes in coding development in the past. And then these will be the biggest changes in no-code development in the past. And that brings us to today. So where are we at today? What's happened today is no-code and code have converged. So now the best way to build software without code is to generate code. So these are kind of the most popular tools, but you can use these tools to generate code for you without knowing a single bit of coding. The most popular ones being Cursor, Copilot, Bolt, Lovable, and then a little bit less popular are Windsurf, Replit, and V0 from Vercel. Today, we're going to be using Lovable and potentially Cursor, but we're going to try to stay away from that. So this makes it that like anybody without any coding experience can start an app and just use AI to code. And I want to jump right into the coding because the first prompt that we're going to put in takes in about 5 minutes or so. So we're going to do that and then come back to the slides. And we also said that we're going to be building an app in less than 60 minutes. Kind of light. We're going to be building 3 apps in less than 60 minutes. So say hi to Yash and Andy, who should be on the call right now as well. So your mics are unmuted, by the way, but Yeah, so Yash is a product manager with no coding experience. And can you mute your mic? Thanks. So Yash is a coding, Yash is a product manager with no coding experience, and he's going to be building the same app that we build alongside us, but using Bolt, which is another one of these code generators. And Andy is a software engineer with about a year of experience, so your typical junior developer. But today we're taking the AI away from him and making him code without any AI, back how it used to be. And then at the end of this, we're going to come back and see our marketing tool that we created. And see where each person got. We'll be able to compare a little bit of Lovable versus Bolt, as well as seeing how much faster it is to build with AI than without it. Cool. So let's start building. Any questions in the chat before we get started? Let me see. Okay, cool. Doesn't seem like there's too many questions right now, but okay, we got some features coming in. Oh, people are still posting app ideas, I guess, in the feature. Let's see if there's anything else we want to build. Oh, competitor trend analysis. Okay, that's a good idea. Influencer recommendations. Okay. So the thing with Lovable is it's good for building a prototype. So if we're building a couple of features, like 2 to 3 features, then it's helpful for that. But when it starts to get too wide, then it's when it starts to struggle. So I'm going to try to pick 2 to 3 features, and one of them we're going to try to pick a feature that's a little bit harder to build, and we'll put that as a stretch goal. And hopefully, like, we won't be able to accomplish it and run into bugs and try to debug it together here. Go ahead and put likes on whichever ones you like the best. But let's go ahead and have this. I'll paste that into my notes over here. We'll make it so it does competitor and trend analysis. This we would be able to do, but we have to set up an agent, which we're not setting up in today's course. And then okay, here we go. Some people, I like this one too. Let's have it toggle so that it can regenerate any of the ideas that we don't like. Okay, cool. And maybe we can include that one too. Now what I'm going to do is create the marketing messages too. Okay. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come into ChatGPT. And so this is Lovable. It just takes in a prompt and it generates the website you want for you. But especially the first prompt you're giving it, you want it to be a little bit better. From there, you can just start talking to it with regular English. But because of that, I'm going to take these 3 and paste them into here and tell it, this is the prompt I typically use. You can use whatever you want. I tell it, hey, I'm creating an app on Lovable. Write me a prompt for it. Keep it very concise. Limit it to 2 to 3 features. Outline just the main couple of pages / user flow. The main thing here being is you want to kind of tell it to outline the pages and the user flow. It helps Lovable when creating that. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter. It probably will give us some of its own feature recommendations as well. So maybe we'll take some of those on. So it says, okay, prompt for Lovable app. We'll have a home screen where you can input your brand, niche, and or select competitors for analysis. We'll have idea selection where you can toggle through marketing ideas, keep what you like, and regenerate the rest. I like that. That's kind of maybe like a Tinder style swipe, what you like, dislike what you don't like. And AI refines your selection into ready to use marketing messages. Okay, cool. This sounds good to me. So we'll take this, we'll come into Lovable, we'll paste it here. And if you're building along with us, there's an option here for public or private. So if you don't want other people to be able to see your code or steal your idea, make sure you select private on here. But otherwise, we're going to go ahead and hit enter. and it's going to start booting up. We can kind of see it start to generate the code live in front of us if we wait a little bit. From my experience, this takes roughly about 5 minutes for the first time that you put it in. So I have a little bit more to talk about, and then we'll be coming back to it. But you can see here, it'll start doing all the work. And there it is, the first lines of code for it. Cool. So now I'm going to show you a demo of an app I built the other day. So I was talking to my friend, and they were going through some relationship problems. I was like, sounds like you guys need some couples therapy. And he said, sure, if you're the one paying for it. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to pay for it, but why not try to whip up an app? So yeah, this is my app here, and it's a couples therapy room. So you can create a room and copy an invite link to invite your partner to join. So Keith, I'm gonna send you the link if you could be my partner and join this app for the demo. I think it doesn't work on Safari in case you're using Safari, but go ahead and try to join the room and enter your name. So I'm gonna say hi. And Keith, let me know if it's working for you. If not, we can skip the demo.
Yeah, I'm in, I think.
Okay, awesome. Send the message over so we can see it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And I can say something like, my partner keeps on eating all my food and I'm upset. Right, so then we can go ahead and request the therapist input. And here it goes. It says, you feel disrespected. Keith, how do you feel about the situation? And so forth. So you can continuously chat. And then I have another feature we set up where we can kind of import your text messages that you've already had with your partner if you want. And ChatGPT will go through there and analyze the way you guys are speaking to each other. If you see the URL in here and you're in chat, please don't use it. I haven't like encrypted the messages. So if you have any chats on here, I can kind of view it, which shouldn't be the case. So like, this is just for demo purposes. Don't use this app. Wow, thank you, Keith. But yeah, so that's kind of, I was able to build this in less than 4 hours, and that was mainly because, do you see this pink glow around here? I was trying to have you guys seen those AI swirls where it's just like a little line that goes around? I was trying to implement that, and I wasn't able to get that to work. But that took me about 2 hours, and I just ended up resigning at a glow around here. But besides that, I think you could launch something like this in about 2 hours. So now let's go back to the slides. So yeah, the point is, software isn't hard. It is hard if you're trying to be a machine learning engineer, a software engineer, yes. But if you're just trying to build startups, software has become super easy to build with AI. And if you don't know software, I'm going to go ahead and give you like a quick rundown of everything you need to know in the next 5 minutes to build with Lovable. So one, these are like the 4 main structures you're going to need. One is the front end. That's what we have where it displays the data. 2 is the back end. That's where we manipulate the data. 3 is the database, which is where we store the data. And 4 is an API where we use that to send and consume data from other sources. So I'm going to apply to the chat therapy app that we just saw. The front end would be the chat room display. The back end would be using AI to generate the responses. The database would be storing the chat room IDs and the usernames. And the API would be ChatGPT. And to go a little bit further into what an API does is basically if you're on your computer and you use ChatGPT, you just like type something into your web browser, hit enter, and get a response, right? But what if we want our code to use ChatGPT for its logic? What you do is you write some code that sends your prompt and the model that you want to use. For example, I want to use like ChatGPT 4.0. And we'll send that to an API. And that API will communicate with ChatGPT servers, generate a response for us, and send it back. So that would be the therapy messages that we just saw. But that's basically all an API is. And many sites have API, like you could have APIs with your Google Drive and different sorts of things. But ChatGPT is probably the one most people are going to be using for their startups. And then I want to talk a little bit more about like content style and logic. So these are the coding languages that we kind of use. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to code something taking 30 seconds on your computer. So HTML is the file that we use to set up the content. That's the words that you see on the screen. CSS is used for the styling, which is like the color of the screen. And JavaScript is used for the logic. So when we have like things moving and such, that would be JavaScript. So I have these 3 files right here. These 2 are empty. Didn't set up styles or scripts, which is the JavaScript. But this index.html file you can see right here. So it's just like some basic boilerplate code. And as you can see here, we have hello world. And if you just click on it, oh, this loaded into my other screen. But here you can see hello world too, right? And if I go ahead and edit it as well, you can see like it's going to go ahead and update. We'll go ahead and save it, refresh it, and we can see that it updated, right? So that's all code is. I know even as you're viewing this right here, right now, if I go ahead and inspect element, it's just code, right? This code was written on somebody's computer, sent to you, and now you're loading it on your computer to view it. So that takes me to talk about what deployment is. So let's say I wrote this hello world code on my computer. Can somebody just grab this link and go ahead and access it? Well, no. You have to do something that's called deployment, which you could deploy off of your own computer, right? But what if you turn off your computer? Then nobody can access the files that you have on there, right? So what deployment is we take everything that you just wrote, we send it to a server or a host, but you can just basically think of this as another computer that's always on. And those files will be stored on there. Then when anybody wants to access your website, they send a request to it and receive a response of those same pages, and they can view it on their browser. Cool. Awesome. Congrats. So now you should all basically know software.
Spare, I have a question from the audience here from Sophia. It's does Lovable also work for a mobile app tech stack?
Great question. So Lovable doesn't work for a mobile tech stack, but I'm sure it will very soon. Lovable was launched in November, so just like 3 or 4 months ago. Bolt, actually, which is the builder that Yosh is using, just released a mobile app builder last week. I tried it out. It's still not the best. I don't think if you have zero coding experience, you can get something onto the App Store. But they've said that they're going to work on it, and they have like a big update coming up for it in the next month or so. So yeah, within the next month or so, I'm pretty sure one of these applications, you're going to be able to fully no code your mobile app on. But that's a great question. Thanks for asking, Keith. Cool. So yeah, and then so what AI has done for coders is a couple of things. One, it's democratized software engineering. So now product managers, entrepreneurs, maybe even your grandma can start to build software from end to end and launch it, right? And the second thing it's done is 10x productivity, which is, of course, very important in all fields, but especially in the realm of startups, because this means you can launch so many ideas out so quickly and reiterate and launch again. So yeah, and then you might think, so like, if there's all these people who now have access to code and launch software, what's the point? It's going to become quickly oversaturated. But I think that might partially be because of the bubble that you're in. So if you found this your way to a LinkedIn live stream teaching you how to code, you're probably in a niche group of people and you just don't realize it. So I would guess that you're already ahead of like 90 to 95% of people. As I said before, Lovable released in November, right? And ChatGPT, even though it's been out for a while, as of February 2025, only 23% of US adults have been using it. I don't know if everybody finds that surprising, but I thought there isn't a single human who isn't using ChatGPT at this point. And then for Lovable, there's less than 0.1% of people using it. A lot of software engineers are using AI, don't get me wrong, but software engineers aren't always the ones trying to build products. It's when it gets in the hand of product managers, entrepreneurs, business managers, is when we start to get really, really cool products going out there. So yeah, if you are here right now, you have a major advantage. And first, that's because you're the first mover. You're going to be the first one building with these tools and quickly launching as business people. And second, AI just came out, right? There's so many applications that AI could be applied to where we don't have, because we just don't have enough people building the implementations for them. And all it is taking ChatGPT's brain and plugging it into like a workflow that people are already doing. So yeah, there's so much opportunity out there and it's so easy to build. Like, it's the best time to do this. And a third bonus reason is because of DeepSeek. So if you haven't heard of DeepSeek yet, it's an LLM that China created. It's basically Chinese ChatGPT. But what's different about it is it's 30 times cheaper than ChatGPT. And some of the versions are even free. And this just launched in January. So up until this point, there was a perception that all the profits that a new startup makes that's based around using ChatGPT as a wrapper won't make a lot of money, because all the money that they would make would go to ChatGPT, because every time you call an API to ChatGPT, you have to pay for that. So people thought, like, if you build a ChatGPT wrapper, all your profits are going to get eaten up by these LLM tools. But now that's no longer the case. DeepSeek has completely changed everything, and it puts the ball back in the hand of the founders. So yeah, let me check if Lovable is done now, and if not, I have a quick course promo. Yeah, okay, so it seems like it's still not loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and promote our course that we have coming up this summer. So if you listen to the rest of this and you're interested, we have a course coming out this summer for those of you who want to learn to launch startups using AI. And honestly, I wouldn't even call it a startup anymore, because large teams aren't needed any longer with AI. I think a better way to put it is if you're just someone who wants to try to make money online, because these teams can be very small. So everybody who takes this course is going to get two things. One, you're going to be able to build your own web application and get it launched by the end of the course. And you're going to be able to start charging for it, accept payments, and like everything end to end. And two, you're going to learn to understand tech talk. I hear so many times people getting lost in tech conversations and going, oh, I'm not technical. But the truth is, if you skip all the theory, there's not that much that you need to learn to understand these things. Unless your goal is to become a software engineer or a machine learning engineer, you basically never have to learn half of the theory. And we've designed this curriculum to teach you just that, just the pieces that matter. It's basically coding for entrepreneurs. And then in addition to that, you're going to receive a UC Berkeley Gen AI certificate. We're also going to take the top 3 products from the class and make an article about them on UC Berkeley's site and promote it across the social medias, so you can start to grow your audience and launch your startup right away. And we're going to also have some build sessions. So if you see this image right here, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Gather, but it's basically this online environment where you can have your desk set up, where you go on there. So we're going to have sessions on the weekend where you come on here and you can just like code alongside other people. It's really cool. You're like a little character, and you can walk up to somebody, and once you do, your image turns on and you can just start chatting with them. So we're going to have a great community of builders all around each other, supporting each other to launch our startups. And then finally, we have a 20% discount code, and that's thanks to Keith and Vicky. We were able to convince them to give us a 20% code, which is like the largest discount we're going to ever offer for this, and it's only available until by the end of tonight. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check this link right here. And yeah, sorry, I didn't update the QR code. I just noticed, even though I put must update. That's embarrassing. But yeah, anyways, it's also linked at the top of my LinkedIn. So if you just go to my page, you can click it and make sure to type in Gen AI 20 in the ID code box at registration. Okay, and let's go back to Lovable. It is still spinning up. So let's see if we have any questions in the chat. If not, I have some topics prepared that we can talk about. Oh, wow. Well, was that not perfect timing? Okay, cool. So it seems like it made a front page for us. Craft compelling marketing messages effortlessly. Oh, I think in our prompt we called it Lovable. So first things first, we can just chat with this. If you have anybody have any names for the product, I'm gonna go let them know the name of the product is not Lovable. Updated to, let's see. Has anybody commented anything? If not, okay, I'm just gonna call it Market Master. So yeah, it becomes really easy on here. From here, you're just like chatting with it, but you're gonna run into bugs for sure, and hopefully we'll run into some of those soon, and we can try to fix it together. Let's update that and then see the rest of what it's built for us. But one thing I want to say, and like one very underrated part of this AI code generation, is the design. If you look at this, it's not like amazing. I'm not wild at it, but it's really nice. If you compare it to what we had for our first startup when we launched, this is amazing. You need a designer if you want to put out some very pretty product, but you can put out basic product with designs that look great. And I think Bolt does an even better job on the design. So we'll be able to check out what Yash was doing at the end of this and compare. So, okay, let's see. Still updating. Okay, if we hit, so it still works. You can hit get started here. Okay, so we can put our brand's niche. We can add competitors. So let's try it out. Brand's niche. We're selling puppy products. Competitors, I don't know, Petco, and I don't know anymore. Dogfood.com. So let's add that and then see if it's working. Okay, so it seems eco-friendly. So it seems, as you can see here, it seems like it has some pre-filled marketing ideas and it's not actually generating anything off the ideas that we provided for it. So we can just tell it that to fix it, right? And I'll say up here, it will be each of the pages. So this is the first page, this is the analysis page, and we were on the ideas page before. So I can tell it on the ideas page, it seems that it's not updating based on what I entered in the analysis page. Help fix that. And we'll let it know. And I saw somebody else. Yes, go ahead.
Jump in. While you wait for that, maybe we have another question from the audience. I think it's pretty relevant. So let me put this one on. So from Bomdad, we have, is the software scalable? If any bugs come up, can we debug using Lovable?
Yes. So two things. Yes, one, it is scalable. And then two, you can debug with Lovable like we're doing here. This is going to be a little bit more complicated for the non-technical audience, but I'm just going to go ahead and try to explain it anyway. So all the code that you're writing on here is linked to your GitHub. So if I click here and hit transfer repository, so GitHub is a place where coders normally store their code, right? So everything that you build on Lovable gets transferred directly onto your GitHub. So you own all of your code. That means you can on Lovable debug, but you can also from your code editor, which is either Cursor, VS Code, or whatever you use to code, pull your code from GitHub and manually edit things from there. So it's actually a great experience for coding on here. What I normally have up is Lovable on one screen, and then I'll have my code editor up on the other screen, and I'll just be using both back and forth. And both of them are pulling from the Git repository, so they reflect any changes that are coming up. For the non-technical audience, if you didn't understand that, like, don't worry, you don't need to know it. But if you want to, you can sign up for the course. So let's see if this worked now. Let's go ahead and hit refresh, go back to the first page, and try it again. Pet products, Petco. Okay, cool. So it seems this time it did create some campaigns, but it seems like they're kind of useless. So, okay. So we can select a couple of them and then continue with the selected ideas. Okay, there we go. Cool. So it seems that it's creating messages, but again, it seems it's not using the correct messages for our AI generated marketing messages. So we're going to say that again. The AI generate. So what we can do here now is let's go ahead and try to implement ChatGPT to help us generate these. So I'm going to tell it, hey, I want to use ChatGPT to generate the ideas for the AI marketed messages. Help me set that up. And what it's going to ask us here for shortly is an API key. So ChatGPT, as I mentioned before, charges you for every time you use their API. So you're going to have a key. I went on ChatGPT's website and created one earlier, but you basically go to like ChatGPT's business website, you log in and you tell it you want an API key and you enter your credit card information. So then they'll give you just this long key that you don't want to share with anybody, because if you share that key with anybody, they can start using ChatGPT using your credit card. Right. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to ask us for that API key right now, and then we can go ahead and input that for it and get it to start using ChatGPT. But we're going to continue running into problems. This is kind of the process. It doesn't get it right on the first try. You have to keep iterating with it to try to optimize it. And for fixing errors, this is what I would recommend. And I think Bomdot asked this earlier. One, I would try to ask Lovable to fix it. Most of the time, it can get it done. But if it doesn't work, the second thing is you can revert to a previous message and ask again. So if you see here, yeah, they have a restore button. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. But maybe if I go back far enough, yeah, here. So if you find that it's not working and you get stuck in a loop of like you keep asking it to fix something, but it's not working, you want to just hit restore, come back and try asking it in a different way to approach it. And a lot of times that actually works. If that doesn't work, that's the point where you probably want to import your code into Cursor to fix it. That's the code editor that I mentioned earlier, and I had it up right here. So this is Cursor. You would be able to pull your code onto here, and they have another chatbot right here. So you can ask it, hey, my code is having errors and whatnot, and try to fix it. The nice thing about Cursor is you can kind of focus in on what area of the code you think is having the problem, and it'll try to solve it. And also, Cursor allows you to access a lot of different LLM models. So if you find that it's not working again on Cursor, you can try some different models, different AIs to see if it works. And then finally, sometimes when it just doesn't work at all, you can just scratch your Lovable project and start from scratch. Sometimes that fixes it. And then, if not, like you can hire a software developer to try to help you out, I guess. But most of the times, like I haven't had any issues building something simple if I've gone through all these steps. Okay. Oh, the API key. Okay, so it seems that it's asking me to put in an API key here, which is kind of cool. Like then I don't need to pay for my users, right? So the way it's having it is any user that comes on here would have to get an API key, hit save and generate, and use their own API key to do all these promptings. But I'm nice. I want to pay for everybody. So I'm going to tell it, no, I will give you an API key, store it in the database, and use it for all users. So now this part is what I think is the coolest part over Cursor for Lovable, is that it has an integration with Supabase. So up till now, everything that we have been doing is front-end code. It's visual code, right? But earlier, if you remember, we talked about backend. Backend is where you store and do all the operations that you don't want anybody to see. Because the front-end code, as we mentioned earlier, is going to be sent to each person's browser. So if I put in an API key, even if it's hidden in the code, this is going to be sent to somebody's browser. Then they can go and hit inspect element, like I showed you earlier, come in here, and then find my API key and just bankrupt me, right? So we don't want that to happen. So that's why we're going to set this up in the backend where nobody else can see. Now, Supabase, and I think I have a slide for this, so let's go over here. We're going to want to set up Supabase. What Supabase is, it's like a backend as a service is what it's called. But basically what that means, it's a provider that does the backend and database for you. And Lovable plugs in right into allowing you to work with Supabase and gives you the prompts and everything you need to set it up. So this is great because one, it has a free plan. Supabase can scale up to, I think, 500,000 users without any cost. So you don't need to be worried about paying for data and whatnot up to like 500,000 users. And then it gives you a database. It gives you authentication, which is basically like users logging in, signing out. It gives you edge functions, which basically like the ChatGPT API call we're going to do is going to be through an edge function. It gives you storage for large images. It gives you real-time experiences. So if you want, like if you saw our chat earlier on the chat therapy app, you could see in real time when Keith sent something, it would update on my screen as well. It also has vector embeddings. This is really important in the era of AI. If you ever get to a point where you want to scale your application and do your own machine learning training, this is something that's really helps in doing machine learning training. And if you had a database that didn't support this, you wouldn't be able to do as good of a job. And then it has APIs that are ready for it. So yeah, overall, it's like a great system, and we get it all for basically free. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Okay, so as you can see here, incorrect API key provided. So it seems like it just tried to put in an API key without asking me. So I'll say set up a Supabase database, and I can provide my API key when necessary. And when I hit that, also, it gave me an option to refactor my message refiner TSX. I'm not going to do that right now just for the sake of time. But typically when you see this, you want to click it. What the refactor basically means is if your code starts to get too long and messy, they'll kind of section it off into nicer components, which you might not care about if you're not looking at the code, but it actually helps the AI code better and debug your problems better. So whenever you see this, you want to click it. For the sake of time, I'm not going to click it here. Okay, cool. So now it's saying we need to set up Supabase. So, okay, let's just go ahead and come here and create a new project. I'm going to take this off of screen for a sec because it might share a code that you guys aren't supposed to see. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter if you guys see, but if somebody on the stream is trying to ruin our project, then they can. So marketing. Okay, so it didn't share yet. It just popped up with this screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it my project name. I'm just gonna do a search. Oh, well, you saw the password, whatever. I'm gonna take this off screen for a sec again. But as you can, it's just a sign up process. It's nothing complicated. And I'm gonna hit create new project. Let's see. Okay, cool. So I created this new project called Market Master, and I'll tell Supabase to connect with it. Or I think I can do it right here, actually. Perfect. So we can come right here and hit connect. And that sent the prompt. So now it's setting it up. Perfect. And now it's linked to our project dashboard. So everything's set up. And now I can ask again, I have an API key for ChatGPT. Where can I put it? Awesome. So now we can see it's starting to create some tables, and tables are basically like Excel sheets. You can view that as the same thing, Excel sheets, and we kind of give it the columns and then occupy the data in the rows. So we can just go ahead and hit apply changes here. So it's creating an edge function, which is basically a function that's going to live on our backend that we're going to use and call ChatGPT's API every time. Okay, finally, here it gave me an option to add an API key, and I can enter it right here, but I'm going to take that off of screen and put it in. Also, one thing you want to make sure not to do is do not paste your API key right here and tell it to use that, because I mean, it'll probably be okay, but they train off of this data. Somebody might be able to access it, and if you end up building a big software and that API key gets leaked, it could be really, really bad. Okay, and now I can just tell it I added it. Cool, and we'll wait a little bit for that. Any questions in the chat?
So Bear, maybe you can talk about, you chose Lovable and Cursor this time, but you said there were like 7 other competitors. Earlier you showed that was really interesting. So yeah, why did you choose Lovable and Cursor now, and what are the other options like if people are curious?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I come back to this screen, there's a bunch of these different options. I think Lovable and Cursor will be the most non-coder friendly ones. So yeah, just like trust me on that, I guess, and go ahead and use Cursor and Lovable if that's what you're looking for. But again, the benefits of both are, I think the UI might be a little bit better, but it's also more expensive. And I think soon you'll be able to build proper phone apps with it. Vercel is more for generating pieces of code. So if you're a coder, but you want to generate pieces of code to put into your website, it's really good for that. And again, Replit is better for people who have a little bit of technical skill. On this side, for the code editors, these are honestly all great. Like you can use all of them. Windsurf seems to be the favorite, but hasn't gotten a lot of adoption yet. So Cursor is the best in terms of widely adopted, a lot of support for it, and does really well. But overall, I would say just pick one of these and stick to it, because it doesn't really matter which one of them you're using as long as you get comfortable with it. And then maybe every 6 months I would look back to see hey, what new tools are out there that I can switch to. But this is a problem with software engineers too, where they tend to switch tech stacks very often, and then you end up being able to never build anything because you're always learning the newest and latest tool. So don't do that. Just pick a tool and start coding and learning with it. Awesome. So I think this finished. Okay, cool. So let's see if it works now. And also one more other thing, most of web traffic is on mobile. So when I'm building these, I typically tend to stay on the mobile view because that's where most of your traffic is going to be from. But I guess it does depend on the product that you're building. Pet food, Petco. Okay. And maybe we can update these next to have these be generated also with AI content. But let's do a testimonial series. And let's do influence partnerships. Okay, cool. And now we can hit generate messages.
So Pierre, we have another question I think is really interesting. So Sarah asks, what if I have a design in Figma? Is there an easy way to import to Lovable, or how can I make changes to the front end with low coding experience?
Yeah. Great question. So one way you can do it, and we can try that in a little bit here, is just to update and just tell Lovable to update it in the way that you want. But the second question for Figma, you can't plug in your Figma onto here, so you won't be able to get exactly what you want from Figma onto here. But what you can do is screenshot your Figma, put it onto here, and it'll do a decent job at replicating it. But if you're a designer and you want something very, very specific, that is a limitation that Lovable would have, where it can't do that like exactly to the pixel.
And one more question while we're here. Prakar asks, are all these tools free for creating decent apps?
No. So great question. Lovable gives you 5 messages per day for free. So if you wanted to like slowly send 5 messages over time to build your app, you could use it for free, I guess. The first paid subscription is at $20 a month, and that'll give you 100 messages a month additionally. So that's what I'm on right now, and that's what I've been using. I think Bolt is based on a credit-based system, so you can they start you out with like 10,000 or 15,000 credits or something like that, and then you can buy more as you go. It's harder to tell how much that costs because each message, depending on how long it is, how much code it generates, will charge more or less credits. But Bolt overall is a little bit more expensive than Lovable and also runs into errors a little bit more than Lovable does, which also drains up your credits. Okay, so this isn't working. We're going to let them generate messages isn't working. Help. Yeah, if anybody else has questions, feel free to come in, keep them coming in while we build this out. But after we get this to work, we can go ahead and try to fix up the front end. Another thing you can do I forget who asked, I think it was Sarah. There's this site called 21first.dev that has really cool inspirations that you can copy and paste. But the great thing about this site is if you come and click on it, they've built integrations with Lovable. So I can come onto here and it has the code used to generate this, but I can also just hit this and copy a prompt for it to update my Lovable page to this. So actually, let's go ahead and try that next. We can go ahead and update our front end page to this to see if it works. After this loads. But yeah.
Maybe while we wait. So yeah, I think one question I have too, Sapir, is like, are these ChatGPT wrapper startups like, any good? Can you be successful, or is it just like, you'll create some app or tool and then someone else will create one and just like you can't even compete? So yeah, can you actually have like a marketable solution with one of these kind of tools?
Yeah, great question. Definitely you can. There's apps that are on the App Store right now, people making millions of dollars with a 1 to 2 man team just using ChatGPT wrappers. And like I mentioned earlier, there was some skepticism about this earlier because these models cost so much to call. But now that DeepSeek has come out in the past 2 months, like it's a complete game changer. And I think there's going to be a ton of these ChatGPT wrapper products that make a ton of money. Maybe they won't be billion-dollar products, right? But as a single person launching them, you can become a millionaire doing this. Good question by Weston. At what point does this toolset become too basic and require a true dev team? It really depends on your product. I think, yeah, like, for example, if you want to recreate Google Slides, right? You won't be able to do this on here because the front end complexity of Google Slide is so high. There's like so many different buttons you need to click, so many different pieces of information that we need to keep track of. You can't make something like that. But if you're building something like Market Master, you should be able to build this by yourself and scale it to millions of users without needing any sort of technical team. Maybe you need like a technical consultant to help you out for a couple hours here and there, but I don't think you'd even need that. Okay, so we fix that. I'm actually more interested in trying to set up the front page, so let's try to do that. Update my front page to look like the following. And it says copy paste this component. Yeah. Normally, these are mostly landing pages. So if you do want to build something that looks like this, preferably you start off with it in your first prompt, but it should work regardless. Let's see. Oh, maybe it doesn't work. We'll spend another minute or two trying to work on this, and then let's go ahead and check back with Yash and Andy after this loads.
The questions are rolling in now, Square. Do you have time for more questions now? Or
yeah. Let's go ahead while it loads.
Okay, so let's go to Sarah. So Sarah asks, how does the patent application process work for software, and how does it relate to forking in software engineering? Does this apply with using AI tools like Lovable?
Great question. I'm not too familiar with. Oh, that worked, by the way. Awesome. But with patenting, I'm not too familiar. Building software like this, you should be fine. You shouldn't run into any issues. If you're, I guess, like if you're copying these, you could go ahead and look at the logs. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, but I think by the time like you run into any issues with these, it would be because you're too popular, right? And like a lot of people are using your app. So by then, hopefully you have the money to fix it. However, if you are interested in patenting, I believe we also have a patenting course on our startup studio that's being offered this summer. So you could check that out. Have others made money making websites and apps for other companies using this method? Yes. You can go look online. There's a ton of people who have like monthly recurring revenue of hundreds of thousands of dollars having built something with no code at all. How do you set up monetization? So that's through Stripe and some other integrations. Won't have time for that today, but we'll be covering that in the course if you're interested. Does it depend on the number of features per page? Not exactly the number of features per page, but like something close to that. It depends on the complexity. If you have a particular app you're thinking of making, you can let me know and I can tell you if it would be feasible or not. Okay, we're going to try this one last time to see if we got it working. Let's see. Let's just go through all this real quick. And I think something about my web browser is off where the clicks are misaligned. But that typically doesn't happen either. You could tell it. And I think I just need to refresh the page. Okay. No message is generated. Okay. Generate message isn't working. Help fix. I guarantee you, if you do this a couple more times, it'll start working. For the sake of time, though, I'm really interested to see if Yash got it working and where Andy's at. So let's go back to the slides. And can we bring in Yash to see where he's at?
Hey guys, let me share my screen. So I did run into a bit of trouble because I do not have an ChatGPT open API key, and so I kind of ran into an error. And I also started out with 150 tokens, which I used up within like 2 messages. So I had to kind of buy more tokens for this. And yeah, so this is what it looks like. So this is the homepage where you can enter your business idea or product and then your target market. and then it will create an analysis. And then you can scroll down and you can view the analysis, and then select the marketing strategies that you want to implement, and then create content for it, like this. And then I had extra time, so I also created another feature that kind of plugs this app into your CRM, and then you can track, what your leads have been sent, the marketing messages. So yeah.
Awesome, cool. And yeah, it's just your first time trying Bolt, right?
Yes, this is my first time trying Bolt. That's why I had a lot of difficulties kind of using it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So as you can see, first time Josh, like I just told him, come on here, try it out, no experience. And I think what he built was better than what we got built on our end. And I think the UI was a little bit cleaner as well. And then Andy, Mr. No AI, let's see what you have.
Hi guys. Oh man, it was a struggle. Let me share my screen for you guys real quick. All right. Okay, here we go. Of course, it's not going to be as refined or really nice with a bunch of features like Yosh's and what's the bear hat, but I had a very simple little app right here where I just paste in, let's say you want a shampoo product, right? I could just add it to the list and it just poops out a suggested marketing for shampoo. Tell your future self will personally travel back in time to high-five them for buying this. And that's literally all I had so far with like a whole 30-40 minutes worth of coding experience. Not experience, but just coding. And yeah, it was really, really hard taking AI away from me since the past, in my experience, I've been using a lot of AI to code. And it's like basically giving kryptonite to Superman. I had to have so many tabs open, Stack Overflow open. You guys probably don't see in the window, but trust me, there's a lot piling up on just how to get things right.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Stack Overflow is basically like the coder's thread of where to go search everything on how to solve stuff. That's more than I expected you to get done, Andy. So as you can see, like with AI and no coding experience, a lot better.
For example, there you go.
Nice, cool, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Andy.
For sure.
And then I know we're reaching the end here. So one final thing, again, if you want to sign up for the course, we're going to skip the theory and practice application. We're also going to be doing AI automations. Basically, you can set Lovable to work with this other tool called N8N or Make. There's a couple different ones of them. And we can build like custom AI voice agents where you talk to the agent and it sets up your calendar, it creates folders for you in your Google Drive. We can also create and deploy automated social media agents that do all your posting and marketing for you. We'll also learn how to do integrate with Google Auth, configure with Stripe for payments, which somebody was asking earlier. You'll learn how to master Git, Cursor that I mentioned, using other third-party APIs. And you'll learn to understand and read code. It's going to be like coding for entrepreneurs, just what is necessary to be able to do this type of stuff. And you'll get hands-on learning experience. So yeah, if you're interested, check out the course. The discount code is here again. I think we're right at an hour, but if anybody has questions, I'm happy to stay on and chat.
Great session, Saper. I think we still have so many comments here. Okay, so one other good one is why will people use this website or app instead of ChatGPT itself, right?
Yeah, good question. I think so this is trained a little bit particularly for this task. We were talking about API. So this Lovable actually uses ChatGPT and it also uses Claude and something else called Ginny, I think. So there's a bunch of LLMs that it's calling to make this happen, but it knows which LLM to call for what. And it's just like optimized, right? And on top of that, it's integrated with Supabase. That's the part that makes it really easy. Setting up that database connection is a pain if you don't know software. So that makes it a lot easier. Yeah. Thank you all. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And if not, we can go ahead and cut the stream pretty soon here.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Saper. Thank you, everyone. And what a great session. So yeah, we will email you all the recording too, so you can check it out later. And thank you so much. Everyone have a great night.
And if anybody has any questions about the course, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or to my email, and I'll be happy to chat about that. Or in general, if you have any questions about Lovable or this no-code code building experience. Have a good night, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.